Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new stream on the channel. Notice I didn't say, well, technically it is a new playthrough as well, but we are going to be actually playing two games in this stream, as I'm going to be rolling up a new character for for a future Dungeons and Dragons stream, using the two games that I've mentioned, that are mentioned in the description. First, we'll be using Role Player by Thunderworks Games, and then later, we'll be using Call to Adventure by Brotherwise Games. Now, you're probably wondering, Phoenix Knight, how am I going to use these two games? How are you going to use these two games to roll up a character? That's actually very easy for how we're going to do that. So we've used Call to Adventure before to roll up a couple of backstories on the channel, but in order to roll up a backstory for a character, we first need a character. And that's where Role Player comes into the equation, because we can use this to roll up the stats for a character. And as you might be able to see, it might be a little bit hard to see here. Let me see if I can maybe clean this just a touch. Probably not, but might be a little bit hard to focus because there is a lot of distance here. We are going to be rolling up a Halfling Ranger. So we'll be rolling up a character by the name of Lyndle Brushgather as a Halfling Ranger. Taking a look at his stats on the character card, we want to get a strength of 14 to 15 for 2 stars, dexterity of 16 to 17 for 2 stars, constitution of 18 for 4 stars, int and wisdom need to be 14 plus, and in charisma, I should say, need to be 14 plus for 1 star, and then wisdom should be around 15 to 16 for 2. For a ranger, though, for D&D, I believe we probably want a different stat distribution. There are bonuses on there, but it's a little bit hard to see. So for a halfling, strength will be reduced by 2, and charisma will be plus 2. For a ranger, though, I've got my player's handbook up here, so I can work on setting up for a ranger. Looks like rangers emphasize... Trying to find the stats rangers want. Probably going to be toward the start of the book here, or start of the chapter, I should say. Rangers emphasize dexterity and wisdom. So actually, that's not terrible. We can push that a little bit higher. And then we'll adjust it by the actual racial bonuses for the halfling when we get over to D&D. So as a starting point for the backstory, I'll probably only use this for scoring purposes, since we'll be rolling up a full backstory and Call to Adventure later. Gladiator, this makes absolutely no sense for a ranger. Enslaved and thrown in the arena to kill and die for the pleasure of the crowd, you vowed to survive and reclaim your freedom. Now liberated, you seek revenge on your captors. If we match 1 die, we get 1. If we match 2 to 3, we get 1 star. 4 to 5 get 3. All 6 get 6. We want a red as a second point on strength, black and purple in last rows of dexterity and constitution respectively, blue as the first die in intellect, green for charisma in second, and white should be the last in wisdom. And then we can roll up the alignment as well. The ranger also has a special ability of skilled. Gain 1 gold after gaining a skill card. So the alignment that we're wanting to set up for the halfling, for a halfling ranger, is a protector. So we primarily want to be in lawful good, but good if we can manage that. We want nothing to do with evil in this one. And we'll put that there. And our starting market, we get 3. We have a cunning, which is a trait for 3 gold, and we have to shift our alignment 1 to the left. Gain a star for each skill card you have. Then we've got Obnoxious, which right now we really want nothing to do with. Actually we want to be neutral. Is it neutral good that we want to be? Yes. We actually want to be neutral good on the alignment. So Obnoxious would give us 2 stars for each attribute row with 3 of the same colored dice. And the item we're probably going to buy if we can help it is the Ancestral Blade. Gain 2 gold each time you place a die on your character sheet that matches a backstory requirement on your backstory card. Okay, so now we need to draw our setup dice, which we've got 6 dice to start with. So we'll draw them out of the bag. I am just playing normal base role player for this one since it's been a while since I've played role player. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to try to put one of those blues on intellect if I can help it. 6. Okay. So we'll roll these up. We can set these. And then we'll be ready to get into this game, right? Yes. Okay, well, we can definitely put a 4 on intellect. We don't take any of the setup actions yet. So let's go through those real quick. I'm going to grab a sheet that a character sheet that I'm not using, just so I can point these out. So for a strength, we can take a die and flip it if we place one in that row. Dexterity is exchange 2 of them. Constitution is bump a die by 1 in either direction. Int is a straight reroll. Wisdom is that's got to be a move it anywhere. And let me double check what wisdom actually is. Placing a die allows to move the tracking token on their... So that's actually moving the tracking token on the alignment card is what that is. And then charisma gives us a token which will make a purchase from the market one cheaper to make. So those are the attribute actions there. None of which we take while we're setting up our initial setup dice. So I put the blue on int to make sure it matched there. We'll take a 6 on... I think we want a 6 on Constitution because we're trying to get that score up as high as we can. Then we'll take the... Then we'll put a 1... Actually, we'll put a 5 on Charisma. A 4... We'll put a 4 on Wisdom. And we'll take a 2 to Strength. And a green 1 will go on Dexterity. And then that's everything all set up there. So I'm just getting my directions here so I can make sure of the directions for that. So now we're ready to get into this game. So the first thing we'll do here is we'll have the roll phase where we'll draw 3 dice out of the bag since we've got 3 initiative cards up here. And additionally, the number 2 has a gold on it. Ideally, I want to try to get that Ancestral Blade if I can. 1, 2, 3. All right, we've got 2 red and a blue, which will go in the cup. We could use a red as the second die of strength, but let's see what happens. Okay, so we take the 1. So we'll take the 1 there. Then we'll put the red 6 on the 2 and the blue 6 on the 3. So we don't need the... Okay, so we don't need the... So we'll actually take the red 6 here and we'll put that on the strength of charisma, or on the strength row, which means we can take a strength action. We also get the gold from that. We'll flip this dexterity into a 6. So now because we took the 2 initiative, we have to roll the enemy die to see what happens in terms of the card. We're hoping to avoid a 3. So we roll a 1, which will send Cunning over to the trash. And then I will pay the 3 gold to grab the Ancestral Blade, which, as you recall, will let me gain 2 gold each time I place a die on my character sheet that matches a requirement on my backstory. So that goes there, and then that goes to the discard pile. And then after that, so that was the market phase. Then move the left card. Okay, so move the leftmost card. Okay, to the discard pile if there's anything else remaining. move them to the trash pile. So probably, is there a difference between the discard pile and the trash pile? I think the discard pile can come back, but the trash can't. Because most games I know it's used discard and trash interchangeably. Yeah. So it doesn't say anything here about the discard pile versus trash. I'm just going to assume that they're one and the same. So we'll put these back in the bag. We'll put a gold out on initiative card 2, and then we'll reveal 3 new cards from the market. First up, we find a heavy crossbow, which is a 2-handed weapon for 4 gold. When buying from the market, pay 1 fewer gold. Next, we've got a Cure Wounds, where we can shift the alignment up to increase the face value of 1 die of your class color on your character sheet by 1. Our class color is actually green, so when it talks about the class die, the class color, that's what it's talking about. And finally, Courageous. When scoring attribute goals, +2 or -2 value to any single attribute score, and we'll shift our alignment up for that. So now we're back into the roll phase once again. I'll pull the enemy die out just so I don't confuse myself. So now back into the dice bag I go. One, two, three. Blue, red, black. We don't need a black until we get to dexterity, and we're basically done with blue. Wow, 2 4s again. 4, 4, 6. And I don't need the blue again. Or I don't need blue, and I don't need red. I need everything else though. So do I just take for the value? The Cure Wounds could be useful later. So what do I want to take here? I got to keep an eye on my strength, because that's already going to be... That's already a little bit too... Well, I got to remember that I'm also down by 2. And I want my charisma at 14. So I think we're going to grab a... I'm going to grab... I've got a black 4, a blue 4 on 2 with a gold initiative on it, and a red 6. Nothing really useful to flip right now, so I don't want to put anything on strength. Dexterity should be at a 16 to 17. So I guess I'll take the... Let's take the black 4, I guess. Is there anything in particular that I want to buy here? I think there is. So I'll grab the black 4, and I'll put that on... I'll put that on intellect, I think, which will give me a reroll on this blue die. So that was a blue die I took from the strength that I'm going to reroll. And it still ends up being a 2. Wonderful. But because I took from the 1, I get to buy something without anything happening. So I will actually go ahead and grab, for 3 gold, I will grab Cure Wounds. That's something I can use later. That is a skill, but I don't get anything for that. So we'll put that off to the side. These go back to the market. The dice go back to the bag. And we'll pull out 3 new cards. First up, we have a Mystic Cloak, which is part of the Mystic set. 4 gold to buy that. You get 1 star for 1 piece, 3 for 2, 6 for 3, and +1 for the set if it's worn by green or blue classes, which we are a green class. Then a Jeweled Dagger. When scoring attribute goals, +1 value to all gold dice. and a longsword. When scoring attribute goals, +1 value to all dice of your class color. But I've got a problem here because I've got no gold right now to do anything with on the market. So let's draw another 3 dice, I should say. One, two, three. Ooh, 2 class dice, which are the green ones. All right, so a 3 goes on 1, blue 4 on 2, and a green 5 on 3. Given that I've got no gold to buy anything with right now, I'm actually going to take the green 5 on 3 and put that on charisma. I need to get my charisma up to about 14, but that also gives me a charisma token that I can use to make a purchase 1 cheaper. Then I've got to roll the enemy die to see what is going to get discarded. The 2 says the Mystic Cloak is going to get discarded. I'll additionally discard the Longsword to get 2 gold back. And then everything will move. And then the Jeweled Dagger will move to the discard pile with it. Now, I actually, hold on. I forgot about the Ancestral Blade, which gives me 2 gold for placing a die that matches a requirement on my backstory card. I put a green down here in Charisma, which actually does match that. So now I actually have an option to buy. So I think... the question is, do I want the Longsword for +1 value to all dice of my class color, or when scoring attribute goals, +1 value to all gold dice? Right now I don't have any gold dice, and the Charisma down here would give me a little bit of breathing room. So I think I will spend... Actually, no. I didn't have this... So I had the 2 gold based on discarding. So never mind. I don't get any of that. So these dice go back to the bag, and now we'll draw fresh cards. Reckless, which moves the alignment to the right. Gain 2 stars for each of my attribute scores. That's 5 or less. Not something I'm interested in here. Pickpocket for 2 gold. I can move my alignment marker down to decrease the face value of 1 die on my character sheet by 1 to gain 2 gold. Or climb. I can shift my alignment up. Before or after selecting an initiative card, flip all dice in the dice pool to their opposite sides and reveal them, and reorder them. Okay, so let's see what we pull out of the bag now. One, two, three. I've got a green, a blue, and a red, none of which I need in my backstory. So we're just placing this. So we're just ordering these. All right, so that's a green 2, a red 5, and a blue 5. Let's go with... Like I said, I don't need any of those colors anywhere in my backstory. So, and is there anything in particular that I want to buy? Decrease the face value of 1 die in your character sheet by 1 to gain 2 gold. That could actually be useful. So, yes, I'm looking at Pickpocket potentially, which I could sync with Cure Wounds potentially. So the question is, do I grab the... I think here I grab the green die. And here I'll grab the green 2, and I'll put that on... We'll put that on... Let's put that on Constitution, which will let me increase or decrease a die by 1. So now I want a purple die on Constitution. I'm going to bump the... The question is, do I want to try to flip that 2? I don't want to get my strength too high, because I want to try to keep the ranger, I want to try to keep the strength in check. I don't want it to get too high, so I'm just going to bump this blue die up by 1 to 3. And then since I took the leftmost die, I can buy, which I'll take 2 gold. I'll spend 2 gold to get a pickpocket, which will let me move my alignment marker down, so I can decrease the face value of 1 die on my character sheet by 1 to gain 2 gold. Those will move to the discard pile. We'll put these 2 back in the bag, and then we'll flip over 3 new cards from the market. So first we've got weak, moving the alignment marker right. Gain 2 stars if either your strength or constitution attribute score is 8 or less. Leather boots and leather gloves. We saw those earlier when we saw sets briefly when we briefly had the Mystic set available. Now back into the dice bag we go once again. One, two, three. All right. We've got a white, a black, and a red. The white I would want on wisdom, but I have to put something to the left of wisdom first. Black would have to go to the end of dexterity, but I need something else there first. I do want to find a way to get this 2 on my green die on my constitution up. Wow, that's a pretty terrible roll. 1, 2, 3. Although, we actually will use pickpocket to decrease my constitution down to 1 to gain 2 gold. And then I'll move it back up to increase my charisma by 1, go up to 6. Okay. So I would want the let's take the white 1. Where do I want to put that? I'll put that on... I'm going to put that on strength with the idea of switching that over, and then I'll flip this green 1 into a 6. So the idea is I'm going to try to move that green 1, or that white 1, off of that strength spot. So I've got an option to buy, but I'm not going to buy anything. I'll discard the weak, because why not? Which will give me 2 gold, and then everything else moves to the discard pile. Then I'll put out 3 new cards. First up, a quarterstaff. When completing an attribute row, gain 2 additional gold, which reminds me, I forgot there's a... For each attribute row that's filled, which... I believe there's a bonus for that. Let me just double check that. Let me take the attribute action, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so... Oh yes, gain 1 gold when placing the 3rd die in an attribute row. So I do get a gold for placing my last die in strength. Or for placing the 3rd die in strength, even though I'm planning on moving that off. And I discarded to get 2 more gold. Okay. So that can move away. Next up, we'll draw Chain Leggings, which has got a 5 set, and it's +1 if worn by red or white classes, which we're not. Dedicated, which moves the alignment left for 4 gold. Gain 2 stars if you have at least 1 weapon, 1 skill, 2 traits, and an armor. And a Blessed Mace. When a player discards from the market, gain a gold. Ooh, that could be useful for getting more gold. Three more dice. A gold and 2 green. Okay, that's got some potential. Because we've got Cure Wounds that we could potentially use. All right, so that's a 3, a 5, and a green 3, green 5, and a gold 6. I think here I want the gold 6. And I'll put that on Constitution to give me a gold. Actually, give me 2 more gold, so I'm going to start making some change here. So I'll take that 1, turn it into a 3. I'll turn these 3 in as well for another 3. And then these 3 will get turned in as well. And then since I placed in Constitution, I can increase or decrease a die by 1. I will... what's potentially a little bit too high? I can't use Cure Wounds right now because all my class dice are too high. So I think I will decrease my... I'll decrease my dex by 1 down to 5. Actually, strike that. We're going to increase the strength by 1. Then I actually don't need to pickpocket right now, and I don't need to Cure Wounds either. What we will do, though, is we'll discard from the market based on the enemy die. You bastard. Enemy die. I was eyeing the Blessed Mace up. Then we'll discard Dedicated to get another 2 gold. And then we'll discard the Chain Leggings. And then we'll place, we've got 6 more dice to put on our character sheet. Then we'll draw 3 new cards. First up, Intimidate, moving right with the alignment for 1 gold. Before or after selecting an initiative card, reroll any number of dice in the dice pool and reorder them. Acrobatics, for 3 gold, increase your alignment to increase the face value of 1 die and -1 face value to a different die. And a Chain Helm, which was part of the chain set that we just discarded earlier. Next card, or next dice coming up. We've got a red, a purple, and a green. Right now we can't place the purple die where we want it for the backstory unless I move that Constitution off. Actually, I want to check something because Dexterity could let me switch the die I just placed. Looks like it just says any dice. So I could presumably move a purple. But let's see what we get here. So a purple 4, a green 5, and a red 5. Is there anything in particular that I want here? I think... So I want my Constitution to be 18. I'd prefer to move a purple die over there to it. So I think here... This is already 13 for Charisma. Let's take the purple die here. Intellect should be 14 plus. I'll take the intellect, or I'll take the purple die and I'll put it on Charisma with a plan of moving them later, which will give me a Charisma token and 1 gold for placing the for placing the third die in the charisma row. Then is there anything in particular I want? I think there is, actually. I'll pay 3 gold to get acrobatics, which I can increase my alignment. I can move my alignment up to +1 the face value to a die and -1 a different one. Those cards get discarded, and then the dice go back to the bag. Then drawing out, we've got Loyal, moving your alignment left. Gain 4 stars if you have completed all of your attribute goals. Then Leather Pauldrons, set for purple and black classes, and Negotiate. Move your alignment right. So before or after selecting an initiative card, exchange 1 die in your character sheet with one of the initiative cards and reorder them. Drawing for the roll phase. Black, red, blue. No colors I need to place anywhere in my backstory. All right, we've got a red 2, a black 3, and a blue 4. Let's take the... Let's take the... I don't think there's anything here in particular that I want. Maybe the Negotiate potentially. That could be moderately useful at least. Is it useful enough to take a chance on one of these dice? And I think the answer to that is no. So I think we'll take the... blue 4, and I'll put it in my decks with the idea of what do I want to trade? The question is, do I think I gain more from leaving the gold 6 there and basically swapping these two, or do I gain more from leaving it there? So I could also skip the attribute action there as well. I think the answer to that is... I think the answer there is probably that I leave them. Because I already have 1, 2, 3 of my backstory goals met. I can place 2 more, but I need to get something into wisdom first. So let's see what happens with the enemy die. That's a 4, which discards the Leather Pauldrons, which is exactly what I wanted to do, so I'll spend my 2 charisma tokens and a gold to pick up Negotiate. Those dice go back, and we'll see what our market cards are coming out. First up, we've got Nimble, 3 gold, and move the attribute marker left to just give you a star. Then we've got Proud for 5, which is moving it down for 2 stars. And Chain Vambrace is for 3 gold. Once again, part of the red or white set. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Blue, white, black. We could place a black here to complete that part of the story. We need to get something before we can place white and wisdom. But let's see what our roll turns out to be here. All right, that's a white 1, a black 2, and a blue 4. Let's go... Exchange 1 die. Actually, let's use acrobatics here. We'll shift the alignment up into neutral good. the +1 face value 1 die. So we'll make this a 5. I'll make this purple a 5. And I'll pull this dex die on my class die. I'll pull this dex die in my class color down by 1. So acrobatics is done there. Which means now if I can find a way to get this purple wisdom die increased by 1, I could potentially get that moved up to Constitution where I want it. So I think here we're going to take the wisdom needs to be a 15 to 16. So I'll take the blue 4. There's nothing here that I'm terribly interested in. I will take it on wisdom, which I'm going to use to move my alignment. Let's move it into chaotic good. And then we'll roll for the enemy die. Two gets rid of nimble. I'll spend 5 gold to pick up proud, mostly for the stars, and it also makes me move my alignment down, but I've got enough ways. Actually, what I need here is a way to move it back left so I can get back into lawful good, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself on that. We've got 3 dice left, and I've got 1 I can place in wisdom, so that could be the way that'll probably end up being the way I move it back. First up is steadfast. For 5 gold and move your alignment marker up. Gain 2 stars for every weapon you have. Then knowledge. Move it left to increase or decrease the face value of a die on your character sheet by 1 or 2. That's another way we get it moved over. And obsessed. Gain an additional star for every 2 dice in your class color. Presumably that would be rounded down. Let me see about that. There's probably an FAQ on obsessed. Let me see notes. No, there isn't. Let's see if there's something in final scoring. As the reputation stars. I would presume it's rounded down. Anyway, now we draw our 3 dice. One, two, three. We've got a white, a red, and a green. Class die is always good, but now we can put the white die in wisdom. But let's see what happens here on the roll. All right, that's a white 3 and 2 6s. We'll put green there, red there. Excuse me. Let's go. What does intellect need to be? 14 plus? Okay, let's take the green die and we'll put that on intellect. We'll take the gold and then we get a reroll, which I'll reroll on this white 2. See if I can get my strength up a little bit. I also get a gold for completing a row. That's a 6, so that gets it up enough. The problem here, though, is I need to get this die up somehow as well. But we need to roll the enemy die, hopefully avoiding a 2 this time, because that knowledge could end up being very useful. So, of course, we roll the 2, which makes us discard knowledge. Joy. Well, we still have a place on wisdom, which we'll probably end up going to, hopefully with a white or a black die. So now we've got, and that was another sure way I was going to try to move it left. So I'll probably have to use wisdom to move it that way. Actually, what I could do here, do I want to buy, well, first question is, do I want to buy anything here? And I think the answer to that is no. So I'm just going to take 2 gold instead. We'll discard all of that. Those dice will go back. I'll put a gold on the initiative card. I know I'm doing this a little bit out of order, but it's all making sense here. So first card out, Mystic Robes, which is part of the Mystic set. We've got a Chain Tunic and Famous. During the final scoring, double the effect of your alignment card. That's 6 gold, but that's moving the alignment back to the right, which is not what I want here with only 2 dice left in the game. So I guess the question here, well, let me draw the dice out, then we'll see what I want to do. Blue or red, white, black. So ideally we can place one of them in dexterity or wisdom, depending on what kind of roll we get. Or what kind of rolls we get. So let's see. So a white 3, a black 5, and a red 6. That's a dexterity. So I think here we're going to... So wisdom we're probably going to lose on. Question is, do I think I want the... Okay, so I can't move it right now, and I'm not sure I want to anyway. Let's see. So that would give me a 12 in wisdom. But it would give me the alignment move. Well, depending on which value I take. How many am I scoring on this? So 1... So right now I have 1, 2, 3 requirements met. And I'm potentially going to be backing in... I'm potentially going to be getting another one here. So I think here I will use my acrobatics to move that up. Move that up into chaotic good. Give me a +1 face value to 1 die. So I'll make this 5 a 6. And where do I have room to give here a little bit? I will... I'll make that a 6. And then I'll decrease this class colored die in charisma down to a 5, since I've got room to give there. So dexterity now wants the... Dexterity wants the black die. So I think we'll take the black 5. We'll put that on dexterity. I'll swap the constitution and first wisdom dice. So I'll get that moved over there. And then because I took from here, we have to roll the enemy die. I do get 2 gold from the Ancestral Blade, since I placed a die that matches the requirement. That's a 3, so we discard Famous, which I wasn't really sure about anyway. Because I couldn't move my alignment to the right anyway. So I will gain 2 more gold from discarding it to the market, since nothing there is of interest. And ideally, I can find a white die to put here. So now I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the ideal scenario here. I find a green die that I can put on the... Actually, it's a white die that I need on wisdom. We'll put a gold there, and then we'll draw the last 3 cards from the market. So a longbow, after placing a die in the final space of an attribute row, you may take the attribute action an additional time. Cursed ring, upon purchase, give to another player. At any time, the owner may pay 2 gold to give it to another player, or 4 gold to discard it. That's -1 star. And the Ring of Charity. As part of this card's cost, for 1, you must also give 1 gold to all other players, but it's worth 2 reputation stars. Last 3 dice. Ideally, we find a white in here. One, 2, 3. And we find a white, along with a purple and a blue. but the white die is really the only one I've got my eye on here. So that's a white 3, a blue 4, and a purple 5, which wisdom, I was hoping that was going to be a little better roll, but there's nothing I can do with that at this point. So I will take the white 3, which will let me move my wisdom. I'll move it back to the left, so I'll move back into neutral good. And then I'll pay 1 gold along with, we'll call it an extra 1, to buy the Ring of Charity. And then that's the end of the game. So scoring here is mostly for cosmetic purposes. There is a beat the high score, but as I mentioned, I was mostly interested in the backstory. So now we'll go into endgame, or the character stats. So now we'll go into endgame scoring, the attribute goals. So we start off on 0 stars. Attribute goals, strength needed to be 14 to 15. Based on the dice is exactly 15, but because of the -2 for the halfling, it's actually 13, so I don't score that. Dexterity 16 to 17, no. Constitution 18, yes, that gives me 4 stars. Intellect needed to be a 14 plus, that is a 14 on the dot. Wisdom needed to be a 15 to 16, that's a 13, so no scoring there. And charisma needed to be a 14 plus, so that's a 14 on the dot. So let me actually take down those stats, but I'll be modifying those based on the actual racials in D&D. So strength, I'm going to take so I'm using the modifiers here for scoring purposes for this game, but I'll be using the actual modifiers when I get into D&D. So strength is a 15, dex is a 14, constitution is an 18, intellect is a 14, or intelligence, I guess it is. Wisdom is a 13, and charisma is a 14. Okay, so I'll set that up based on the actual ranger in the game. So that was attribute scoring. Now for class color, each die on a character sheet that matches the class color is worth 1. We were green, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Which brings me up to 10. Then for the alignment, we're also neutral good. And that's good for another 3 points, because that's where we're trying to get to, so 10, up to 13. Oop. Then for backstory, I think we finally managed to match them all. So red there, black here, purple, blue, white, green. Yep, we matched all 6. So that gives me another 6 victory points, up to 6 stars, up to 19. Didn't have any armor. Actually, I did have armor. I had the Ring of Charity for 2 points, up to 21. And then proud as a trait, up to 23. So based on the ranking in the solo game, that would make me a hireling. But again, I wasn't really interested in that. So that's it for the role player half of this stream. I'm going to put the stream into be right back, but I will be around to interact with chat while I switch out the game. So bear with me. Like I said, I will be around. I'm just going to tab back in here real quick just to make sure everything looks good. Let's see. Let's bring that down just a touch. Okay. Put that right there, and stream going back into Be Right Back. Sorry for the delay. I am working on getting everything set up here as fast as I can. Put that there. Actually, I want that. I need to have room for the actual character. Where'd my pencil end up? Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Ooh, you gotta move over there, buddy. Okay, just making sure the mic's still working. Sorry for the weird noises. And I am getting everything set up for our Call to Adventure game here, so I haven't gone completely dead on this one. I am coming back once everything's all set up. that is the villains deck. Okay, let's tab back into game. Sorry about the long delay on that. It took me a little bit. It takes a little bit to swap out a game. Who would have guessed? Anyway, we are all set here with Call to Adventure because that brings us into the second half of this stream where it's all fine and dandy to have a character, but of course, a character now needs a backstory. So we will see to that. We'll see to that at this point. First up, let's meet our adversary. When I randomly drew, we ended up with the Tyrant's Reign. When you sacrifice an ally, the adversary gains an experience. When you fail that's a charisma challenge, I believe, the adversary gains an experience. If any hero has 3 justice at the end of the game, the adversary loses 2 experience. And of course, we're all familiar with the Rise of the Adversary challenge. But of course, the Tyrant adds to the game in his own way. So the Tyrant takes 8 successes, needs a dexterity, uses dexterity and charisma runes. While this challenge is undefeated, any hero who takes a tragedy path gains a corruption. So we want to be very careful of that. Right? And then we need to meet our character. So we've got 2 origins to choose from. And yes, As I've mentioned, I will be working on a backstory for Lyndall as well in this one. So first card up for his origin is a merchant taking Arcane and Charisma. Once per turn, when you fail an Arcane or Charisma challenge, you may pay 2 experience to try again. Or Farmer taking Strength and Wisdom. During a challenge, if at least one of your runes shows a result of Wisdom or Strength, gain an experience. Merchant at least gives me an option of Charisma runes. So I will take that, and I think that'll also be a little bit easier to work into a backstory. No, I don't want to exit OBS. Knock it off. So give me bulleted list, origin, merchant. Maybe the family is, again, as I mentioned, I'm also going to be brainstorming in terms of giving me backstory ideas. So merchant, maybe it's an animal merchant and is fascinated by maybe the family. Maybe it's a family of animal merchants fascinated by nature. That's an idea. Then we've got 2 possible motivations. First choice for motivation is Sole Survivor, 2 tragedy. If you have no allies, once per turn you may spend an experience to gain an anti-hero card. Or Sworn Protector. Once per turn, you may spend an experience to gain plus Constitution until the end of the turn. Unfortunately, none of those really gel with the Tyrant challenges. But what actually kind of gels in the backstory aspect is Sworn Protector, because I can potentially use that to use Sworn Protector to transition into a Sworn Protector of Nature. Oops. I'll figure out some way to bring that in. And then Destiny also provides us with 2 choices. Once again, if you're just tuning in, I apologize for a lengthy delay. There was a bit of time between tearing down Role Player and setting up Call to Adventure, but we're all set to go now. First up, Master of Whispers, giving us royalty. At the end of the game, gain a tragedy for each dexterity or charisma, which we'll be needing against the Tyrant. 2 triumph for each ally you have. Or 1 with nature, giving us a nature. At the end of the game, gain 5 triumph if you have wisdom, strength, charisma, and 1 triumph for each nature in your story. I think this almost feels like a gimme, at least in terms of the win, Master of Whispers would be better to go with, but for the backstory I'm trying to generate, 1 with nature probably makes a lot more sense, and I'm more interested. Usually when I play a game like this, I'm more interested in the backstory, at least I have been lately, more interested in the backstory than I am in the win. And then Lyndall has a hero card to start with. First up, he's got Deny the Darkness. Either gain 2 light or choose another hero to gain 2 light. Then we need to reveal Act 1. First up, we have Dangerous Artifact. We can either harness taking Constitution and Arcane. We can either harness Dark Power for an anti-hero card and an Arcane rune, or Resist Temptation for a Divinity and a Constitution rune. Next up, First Love is an ally. You may sacrifice this ally to gain a Corruption and 2 experience. We'll see what else we have before we decide where that can go. Next up, another Cruel Master. We saw this with Burrell's backstory. You may sacrifice this ally to gain a light, but that would also give the Tyrant an experience. So we need to be mindful of that. And our last challenge is Call to Arms. Taking Strength and Constitution needs 4 successes. And either enlist in the King's Army for a Triumph and a Strength, or defend your homestead for a Justice and a Constitution. So we'll put the First Love on Call to Arms, and the Cruel Master on Harness Dark Power, and then we need 2 more cards out to replace the allies. First up, Thieves Guild, taking wisdom or taking dexterity and charisma. We either train as a spy for a charisma or train as a killer at +1 difficulty to gain a villainy and a dexterity. And Restless Spirit, taking a charisma. We can either banish a ghost or gain a spirit guardian at +1 difficulty, which would give us a divinity and a charisma. And after all of that, we are now all set up. So let's get into this game. And I've actually got an extra track marker that I can use to track what I'm doing. So let me tab back in. So Destiny, one with nature. Like I said, that dovetails very nicely with the Sworn Protector. So now we're into Act 1. And the first challenge we're going to go for here is we are going to try to train we are going to go to Thieves Guild and try to train as a spy. So, as you might recall in Call to Adventure, you get your 3 runes, and since I do have a charisma in my story, I get 1 charisma rune as well, and we need at least 3 successes on here to get that. We also have an option to spend a rune, an experience to get a corruption. But let's give this a try and see what happens here. All right, so we do get a card because of this result. So we'll draw a hero card. So we will draw Deny the Darkness again. But because we have that result, the villain or the boss will get to play a card from the deck. So, well, we flipped over Cruel Betrayal. Choose any hero to sacrifice an ally. If you sacrifice your own ally, gain a corruption and 2 experience. Except joke's on the Tyrant, we don't have an ally to sacrifice, so we will succeed at training as a spy, which will let me tuck that under my origin card, and now I've got another charisma that I can put in. So, all right, so Tyrant called for Cruel Betrayal. No sacrifice. Result, successful. Next card we're replacing that with is a trait, Brave. You may only gain this if you have a strength or spend an experience. So I think our next card we're going to go to here, we're going to go up to Restless Spirit and try to gain a Spirit Guardian. So Restless Spirit and gain a Spirit Guardian. All right, for this one, so I actually do get 2 charisma runes here. I potentially could end up with having all 3 here very quickly, which would be very helpful. I do need to keep an eye on potentially getting strength and wisdom at some point. But for now, I think we'll go ahead and roll this up on gaining a Spirit Guardian. We need 4 successes here. Actually, you know what? Let's actually go ahead and spend no, I'm not going to dip into corruption on this one. I might on the next challenge, but we'll have to see what comes out. All right, that is a 3. We get a card and they play one. So the card we get here is Glorious Victory. If you overcame a challenge this turn without using dark runes and your result exceeds the difficulty by at least 2, gain 3 experience. Unfortunately, we are short of being able to clear that challenge, but let's see what comes out for the villain card, for the boss's card. Tap into Darkness. Play this as another hero is attempting a challenge. Choose 1 rune of a type you possess and remove it from their attempt. So he's got... So tapped into Darkness. He'll actually remove 1 of my charisma runes because he's got that, and then we come up short. So result, So Tyrant tapped into darkness. Removed charisma. Result failed. So maybe the call here is the restless spirit's voice was too faint, which means the tyrant actually gains 1 experience. We get 1 as well, but we did fail a charisma challenge, so the tyrant gets an experience as well. That's unfortunate. And then next up we draw an orphan. Anti-hero card and 2 tragedy. When you gain this, gain a corruption and 2 tragedy. So I think next we're going to pick up Brave as a trait. So actually, we have to spend an experience to gain Brave, which we will do that. So tabbing back over to Word. Come on. There we go. So, F12 is save as. Who knew? So trait gain, Brave. Maybe the friends admired their bravery. Maybe the halfling friends admired Lyndall's bravery. We're going after that spirit. That's an idea, but I'm mostly interested in that for the strength gain. So the next card coming out is Spiritual. That's a divinity and a wisdom. You may not gain this if you have any tragedy. So what do we want to do here? I think, well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the charisma runes out, because we won't need those for the next result. Spiritual would give me the 5 triumph now for 1 with nature. And how do I work that into the backstory then? Pretty easily, I think, actually. Because I could use that to say, potentially to say that that Lyndall discovered. Well, spiritual kind of implies religious, but I don't want to. That's not a topic I really want to get into. There are different ways you can be spiritual with it. Maybe being spiritual with the forest. So let's actually go for. We also need to have an. Oh no, we don't need to have an eye on justice. I didn't take that. Destiny is our option. So I think here we actually are going to go. I think we are going to go for spiritual, actually. So I just need to figure out how to work that into the story. Maybe the family was religious, but Lyndall mistrusted it. I don't know. It's a thought anyway. So let's go function home, since I want to do that. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, nope. Oh, this is what I want to do. So Act 2 is where we want to go. We want another bulleted list. So we'll pick up Spiritual, which will give me the 1 with nature goal on that now. But that also will finish up Act 1. So all of that can now return to the box. Except for what's part of Lyndall's story. I'll move the tray out of the way, and we'll flip over Act 2. So first up, we'll find Vault of Secrets, taking Dexterity and Arcane. We can either unlock a secret vault for an anti-hero card and a Dexterity, or try to learn Forgotten Lore for an Arcana and an Arcane Rune. Next up, Criminal. You may only gain this if you have a villainy or spend an experience, which we have 3 to spend. Next up, Princess as an ally. At the end of the game, if an adversary is undefeated, sacrifice this ally. And True Love. Divinity and 2 Triumph. You may sacrifice this ally to gain a Corruption and 3 experience. I believe both of them can go into unlocking a secret, go into the Vault of Secrets. And then we have 2 more to pull out. So first card out is Guard Duty, taking Wisdom and Dexterity. Either watch over the city for another Wisdom and a Royalty, or catch a criminal at +1 difficulty for a Justice, 1 Triumph, and a Dexterity rune. Or Honorable, giving you a Royalty and a Strength. You may only gain this if you have Royalty or spend an experience. Okay, so now I've got some options here. Unfortunately, what I don't have right now... Oh, I had Merchant I could have spent to try again on that Charisma challenge I had earlier that I just failed out. I forgot about that. Oh well, I'm not going to go back and do that now. So now we've got a Sworn Protector. Maybe... I think we actually will spend an experience to take Criminal. I definitely want to start accumulating some Dexterity runes now at this point. Oh wait, I do need to have an eye on Justice, because I forgot that the Tyrant's Reign does make the adversary lose experience for having 3 Justice. But I will take Criminal here, since I did spend an experience for that. Trait gain... Criminal. Maybe the questioning of the spiritualness, maybe questioning of religion led to rebellion. I don't know. Next card coming out is Savage Beast with Wisdom and Charisma. We can either commune with nature for a nature and a wisdom, or sue the Savage Beast for a hero card and a Charisma rune. Ooh. Actually, that could be a way to introduce the Ranger's Animal Familiar in. I didn't think of that. So... we've got 2 Charisma and a Dexterity here. I think we are going to go for Savage Beast, but the question is, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to commune with nature or soothe that Savage Beast? Let's see. I think we're going to soothe the Savage Beast. We'll see if there's anything that happens here. But we do get 2 Charisma runes and a Wisdom rune. So that is a Charisma challenge, which means I can pay 2 experience to try again if this fails. But let's see what happens here. Oop. Well, I do get a card, so I will take Dazzling Wit. Play this before I attempt a challenge, add an extra Charisma or Arcane rune to the attempt. But the hero also gets to play a card. Instill Fear. Play this as a hero. Another hero is attempting a challenge. They must choose another challenge or trait instead. So the beast might have... So, Tyrant instilled fear. Lindell doubted his abilities. Trying something else. So he's got to select something else. He will... I don't really want to send him to... I could send him over to the Vault of Secrets, but I don't think that's going to have a happy ending at all for him. Let's try Guard Duty and catching a criminal. So we'll leave the Wisdom rune in there, and I'll play Dazzling Wit to add... an Arcane rune to the attempt. And I'll spend an experience to dip into a little bit of corruption. Dazzling Wit for Arcane Rune. Dipping into corruption. All right, let's see what happens here. The dark rune's unique in that it guarantees you 1 success. But if you roll the moon, you get 2 successes, but you have to take a corruption. So let's see what happens in terms of if we're able to catch the criminal or not. All right, so we've got more than enough successes. We'll gain a card. I'll take a hero card, another glorious victory. And then the boss gets to play a card, Dark Lord's Champion. Play this after another hero has attempted a challenge. They must attempt it again, and it now has +1 difficulty. They really don't want us to complete a challenge here. Dark Lord's Champion at +1 difficulty. Result, so we get all the same runes here. So now it's actually a 6. So maybe now it's a good thing that we have a dark rune in there. Maybe not. So let's play a card. Narrow Escape. Play this before you attempt a challenge. Add an extra dexterity or constitution to the attempt. And Harsh Lesson. If any hero would fail to challenge this turn, gain an experience. Unfortunately, we are going to fail as the murderer is going to get away. Result, corrupted slightly. Oop. Failed and corrupted slightly. So we dip down into corruption a bit, and the tyrant is actually going to gain 2 experience because we failed a challenge from the tyrant's main ability, and the Harsh Lesson gives him another experience. This isn't going well. All right, next card coming out is Distant Lands. We can either lead an expedition or discover the unknown. So now let's go back to communing with nature, trying to soothe a savage beast. So now we get the 2 charisma runes. The arcane rune comes out. So back to Savage Beast. And soothe the Savage Beast. We do get an experience as a consolation prize from failing. I also want to play Deny the Darkness to gain 2 light. Purge Corruption. All right, so now we need 4 successes on this one, and we've got 6 runes into it. Actually, we should have 2 charisma, a wisdom. Okay, yep, just making sure I've got everything I should have. So let's see what happens here. That's 6 successes naturally, so we will soothe the Savage Beast. And that, again, could be our familiar. First pet, potentially. Okay. And then the next card coming out is Rags to Riches. If you lost a challenge this turn, you may spend an experience to gain this. Let's see. Actually, we also can play... We can also play Glorious Victory. If we overcame a challenge this turn without using dark runes and the result exceeds the difficulty by at least 2, gain 3 experience. That was a 4, we had a 6, so we definitely exceeded it by 2, which means we gained 3 experience, and I'll play another Glorious Victory to gain 3 more experience. All right. Okay, so now our next card that we're going to go for. Let's go for Let's go for the Vault of Secrets, and we'll try to unlock a secret vault. All right. So we get our Dexterity rune, which we have one of there. I'll play a Narrow Escape to add another one. Dipping into Corruption as well. We'll spend 2 experience for Dark Runes. Mainly because I need a 6 here. And I've got another Deny the Darkness to bring me right back up if I need it. So let's see what we get here. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to gain a card. We'll gain a hero card, which will be an Unlikely Alliance. Choose another hero to gain a light. You can add their runes to the next challenge you attempt this turn. And then the villain plays a card. You gotta be kidding me. Another Harsh Lesson. Harsh Lesson from Tyrant. Result. Failed. Tyrant won. Because the reason the Tyrant's going to win here is because we failed the challenge. The Tyrant gains an experience like normal. And then they gain another experience from Harsh Lesson. Question is, does the win happen immediately, or when you're playing solo, does it just happen immediately? The adversary wins when they reach their experience goal. So, yep, looks like they just win. Which is unfortunate, because the adversary does have 5 experience, so the Tyrant will win on this one, and I've got nothing I can do about that. I also dip into Corruption. So yeah, Tyrant wins. So now from this, I'll write up the backstory. It's not going to be as long a backstory as normal, but this should still give me plenty to work with. So I'll put the stream as usual into Be Right Back while I work on the backstory. Okay. So now I've got the backstory all done. We'll scroll that down just a touch. There we are. Coming back up. Ow. All right. So here's our backstory. It's a little bit shorter than usual because the game just ended up stopping. Lyndall Brushgather came from a family of merchants selling animals. He was always fascinated by the animals, but his family was very poor. He learned early on as a spy to steal for his family's survival, but he always hated it. A restless spirit called out to him to try to convince him to stop. The voice was too faint, however, and his family needed him too much. Despite this, his family and friends admired his bravery in going after the spirit, and he felt very spiritual. Unfortunately, Lyndall's training as a spy led him down a bad road, as he was captured as a criminal but eventually released. As part of his redemption, he went back to where the spirit was calling for him and managed to tame the beast that was there. The two of them learned to fight together along with nature as an ally. He next took his new beast into a vault of secrets, intending to unlock the secret vault for the power within. There was a tyrant waiting for him, however, and he easily defeated Lyndall. Lyndall then retreated into the forest to learn with his nature allies and prepare for his future adventures. Unfortunately, that did end up being a fairly short backstory, but that will do it for this playthrough of this double game stream, essentially, of Role Player and Call to Adventure. So now I've got a Halfling Ranger ready to go for Dungeons and Dragons. I'll finish fleshing that out, and I'm planning on doing a big RPG week on the channel next week. Before we get to that, however, we'll have Mystical Munchies later this afternoon out of the unofficial Disney Parks cookbook with the entree, baked lobster, macaroni, and cheese. Sunday we'll be playing Appa Golf, and Wednesday we'll be back to the boxing ring once again as we play Glory Days Boxing from Glory Days Games. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.